Hello, my name is Wayne Perry, the TV Carpenter, and thank you for watching the Daily DIY. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create a raised frame, like a decking frame. But actually I created a video a couple of years ago where I created this raised kids play den with a living roof and climbing wall and lots of different parts to it. But the principle for creating a raised deck area is the same. So even if you only watch the beginning part of the video, it will show you how to do the basic format and the basic principles of creating a frame so that you can put decking on it. If you watch all the way to the end, you'll see the living roof and all the other parts to it. Hope you like this video. I think it's got some really useful top tips for you. Hello, my name is Wayne. I'm one half of the DIY Doers, and while my business partner Steph is busy blogging, I'm doing some vlogging. I'm going to give you some top tips. This week I'm building a playhouse. It's an all singing, all dancing. They wanted a bit of a playhouse for their children, but also a bit of a climbing frame, something that will grow with them so they can use it as a chill out area. So it's a little bit of a raised deck. We're going to make it 50 centimetres off the ground, the decking area. And then it's a maximum 2.5 metres high, because that's what you're allowed permitted development wise when you're planning an outbuilding. It's not allowed to be any more than 250 centimetres. And we might be putting a living roof on the top. There's going to be climbing frames. So what I do, I thought I'd progress this, and you can follow it, and we'll see how we get on. And I'll keep throwing some more information and some top tips about how to do fence posts, because it's all the same principle. We're going to use your decking boards, so it's the same principle if you're using decking. So if you like this, enjoy, and we'll see you throughout the day. So now we're going to do the fence post. I've already done one behind me. Now the plan is, what you do is you dig a hole big enough for your fence post, and make sure any timber that you're using is tannalized external wood. So make sure it's made for, you can't just use any old pine because it'll just rot really quickly. So make sure it's been treated so it can be outside. I've dug the hole. I've put this piece of timber fence post. I'm using 10 centimetre by 10 centimetre posts, which you can use for decking bases or for fence posts. And I'm using a thing called postcrete. What's brilliant about this is once you put your timber in and secured it with some battens behind, like you see behind me, you then just pour in some water, but half fill the hole with water, and then pour in this bag of postcrete, and it's a ready dry mix. And once it hits the water, it sets, and it sets within 5 to 10 minutes. So you can throw it in there, level it all up, make sure it's all leveled and secure. And then it sets within 10 minutes, and it's great, and then you can move on to the next one. I've used a spirit level that wraps around the edge of the post so that I can level it out on both sides, making sure the bubble's in the middle. Yeah, so this is how you do the fence posts. So there we are, we've got all the posts in. All we've got to do now is put the joists in, which are going to support all the decking boards. The idea is now you create a joist frame for your decking timber to sit on, and I've already completed the main raised deck. Now what I've used 9 centimetre by 4 centimetre, and when you fit your joists, you fit them so it's the thin part on the top, and the idea is the thickness, because the weight is going to be on the top pointing downwards, so the thickness holds it and keeps the strength. Now you keep them parallel, so I've run my joists from left to right because all my deckings are going to go across the other way, so then it's all tight together. And the great thing about decking is, once you've created a grid frame, when you attach your decking boards and you screw those in, it holds it all together. So collectively the decking boards and the joist boards hold everything tight and structurally tight. And I've used external screws, so I've used decking screws and decking bolts to hold all of those things together. So now it's time to fit the decking boards. Now decking boards come in different thicknesses and widths, and also on both sides. Some have a groove, some have a raised bit, so you can choose. On these decking boards that I've got here, I've got plain on one side because I'm going to use those for the climbing wall, and then they've got the groove on the top, which I'm actually going to use for the main deck, so it's not slippy. Now when you're fitting a decking board, what you need to do is make sure there's a gap between each board. Now what this does, it allows for expansion, because the wood expands and contracts. You don't want it packed too tightly so that it expands and it all bubbles up, but also you need a gap to allow for any rainwater to fall through. So you need the water to be able to soak away so it doesn't pool on top of your decking and then it rots it even quicker. So make sure there's a gap in between, and you use a spacer. It can be anything. I've got like a palette knife that I'm using, which gives me like a 5mm gap. Then when you're screwing into the decking boards, obviously I've laid my decking boards the opposite way to what we did the joists, and we're going to put 2 screws for every joist. And what this does, you can't just put one screw. If you put one screw in, it might curl and rock at the sides and warp or twist. So you need to make sure you put 2 screws in each decking board at every joist point. And what this does, like I say, it stops any movement. And again, like I said before, once you've screwed all this down, it'll tie the whole thing together, and it makes the whole thing so strong, makes your base, it's not going to go anywhere. So that's the base decking done. What I've done as well, I've cut a hole in the middle because we're going to create a bit of a storage place, because underneath it's never really used. We've raised it up about 60 centimetres because there's a sandpit that can be slid underneath in and out. But then also we've created a box that we're going to create a decking lid as well. So there's an extra storage, so you can, like a bit of a dumping ground, you can throw things inside when you want to tidy up. Now we're going to be doing the roof. Now the roof is exactly the same principle. We're using the joist, same joist again, same decking boards. It needs to be strong because we are going to be putting a living roof on the top of it, but it's exactly the same principle as the other part of the decking. A top tip for you, I've made this decking 2 meters wide by 2 meters, so 2 meters squared, and the decking boards come in 4 meters 80. So, and also because I was bringing the wood through the house, I knew it'd be too long. So I got the company, Timber Yard, to deliver the wood, and I got them to cut it down for me. So they cut it into 2 meters, 2 meters, and an 80 centimeter. And if you look behind me, I've made sure my wall, this little bit of a wall that was a variable, I've made it at 80 centimetres wide, so I've got a load of pre-cut wood, so it's just so easy to put up. Now we've put on the roof timbers, which are going to support the decking that's going to go on the top for our living roof. The next thing we need to do now is trim off our fence posts. The best thing is always to trim them off after you've done everything, because when you're putting them in the ground and you're putting them in concrete, they're all going to be different lengths, so don't cut them to size, cut them afterwards once they're in place. So only cut them afterwards once they're all tied together by your joists. And the best thing to use is a rough timber saw. So remember, a rough saw is one that has lots of teeth, not so many teeth, they're bigger teeth, not so many of them. It's a bit like your bread knife, so it cuts really hard and really quickly. It doesn't matter that it's going to be a little bit messy, because we're going to clad all the top of it and all the sides with a piece of timber, so it'll hide any rough cuts. So it's the roof time. Right, I've done all the battens along the top, and I'm going to put decking boards on top, and it needs to be really strong because we are using a living roof. We're using a thing called Enviromat. It's a website that the homeowners found, and they supply living roof. It comes in like a big roll, roll of grass, as it were. So there's a few different things that I've got to do first in preparation for it arriving tomorrow. So I'm going to put decking boards on the top. I'm going to put the smooth side at the top because it needs to be as flat as possible. I'm going to put a little bit of gap in between each board, again, so it can expand and contract, but also if there is any moisture that gets in there, it doesn't rot, water can fall through. And then I'm going to wrap it in pond liner. So I'm going to make it all waterproof. So I've got to put a pond liner over the top, like it would be a flat roof, and then tack all that around the sides. And then I'm going to put like a fascia board, which is I'm going to use another decking board, which is going to trim all the way round. But also I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap so that there's some drainage, because you don't want it to be like a swimming pool where it's just going to store a load of water, especially because it's a flat roof. So I've got to create little spaces all the way around that will allow water to fall through. The Enviromat has arrived. So how this works is, remember, we clad the whole roof in pond liner to make it waterproof. Then we put some spaces around the sides for drainage, and then we fronted it and clad the front with a long piece of timber called a fascia board, just to make it look pretty. When the Enviromat's arrived, it comes with a first sheet we put down. It's called a root barrier, so it stops the roots going into the pond liner, extra protection. And then we have this like spongy kind of plastic layer that is a drainage. So because it's a flat roof, you don't want the roots just to sit in water. So this allows water to run underneath the actual plant and run off the side if there's too much. And then we have the Enviromat itself, which is like a big lawn rolled up, and it's rolled out, and that comes with a matting which absorbs moisture as well, so it can hold moisture to protect it, but not too much because it can drain away if need be afterwards. So we're just going to fit that now, and then I've got some timber along the top to frame the top, and what that does, it stops any wind lifting up the Enviromat or any of it and taking it away, but also it traps the whole thing on spin. It also looks good, so if you're looking at it from your bedroom window, we framed the whole grass and the whole Enviromat, so it looks like a big picture framed canvas, as it were. It looks good from the top as well. Time for the side walls now. Now I'm going to clad these with an exterior ply. You can't use things like sheet material like MDF because it'll just, with the water and moisture, it'll just expand and blow. So make sure it's an exterior wood again. So exterior treated plywood is good, and I'm using 12mm exterior ply. And how you attach these, I'm going to fit them between the two fence posts that we've built. So it's going to tap between those two. But to hold it in position, you put some batten, create a batten frame, and then attach your ply to that. It's the same principle as if you were doing a stud work, like a plasterboard stud wall. The living roof has been fitted and watered as recommended. You've got to water it straight away. It's all finished. I've got creative with the inside. We've fitted all the handholds that are grips that have gone up the wall so the children can climb up the wall, create a little bit of a ledge so that they can drop over into the playhouse. Created a step-up box with a whole lid, so that put your finger through it and lift up the lid, and also that can be used as a step-up but also can be used as a desk and storage. We've created some bookcases out of the external ply, and we've painted some at the back of it to give it a bit of contrast. We've created a real big planter for flower beds. The idea is that we're going to have some climbing flowers that will go through the fence, which will create a little bit of dappled shade. There's also some storage boxes out of the ply that we've attached to the wall. There's a chalkboard, which is not only a chalkboard, it's got a magnetic property to it. So if you do about 3 or 4 coats of that, you can use it as a magnetic board as well. More hidden storage in the floor. Like before, we've put a hole in the top. We're going to put a rope across that so that you can lift them up. And then we've also created some steps because we realised for the little ones it was just that little bit too high for them to lift up. And we've added a basketball hoop that can be dropped down at different heights for the children and also for the adults, because the adults want to be able to use it. I'm proud of this one. I think it looks really, really good. So if you thought this was helpful, please like it. If you'd like to learn more about the DIY Doers, check us out at thediydoers.com and join our Facebook group for interactive chat and support. And if you want to ask me any questions, go on there and ask me any questions, and I can help you and give you the support so that you can be a DIY doer. If you're watching this bit, it means you got all the way to the end, so good on you. It's a really pretty amazing play den, isn't it? The kids absolutely loved it. Hope that was helpful. Remember, the principles are the same. Even if you come off a foot off the ground or pretty much on the ground, you still need to create that stud frame in the ground to support it and anchor it into the ground so that your decking won't move. Hope this was helpful. Don't forget you can contact me at thetvcarpenter.com, or you can go to the Facebook group through that website, where you can go to the DIY Doers Facebook group where we can help you with any DIY related questions. Thank you for watching me, Wayne Perry, the TV Carpenter.